in a manner worthy of the high calling on your life. One of my many identities in life was that of a security guard. When I was in college, I was a security guard, and I'd get my homework done. It was a great thing to do then. And there was a guy who was over me. I will call him Captain Bob to protect his identity. A heavy man, bald, mustache, and being a security guard was his life. It was his profession. Unlike all of us, he took it very, very, very seriously. And originally, he was Sergeant Bob. But the company wanted to save money. They found out a way to save money was, instead of raising his salary, raise his title. And he was happy with that. So they'd raise his title, and then they'd pin a medal on him. And so they made him Lieutenant Bob. When I came there, he was Lieutenant Bob. Then while I was there, he became Captain Bob. The guy walked around, he was covered with medals. He'd come in to expect us, you'd hear his medals coming, I left when he was a captain, but I know in time he became a Major Bob, Colonel Bob, General Bob, Chief of Staff Bob, Secretary of Defense Bob, General, the President Bob, Emperor Bob, Pope Bob, Saint Bob. The guy was filled with identities, and they were all pinned on his shirt. And so we too have many medals, titles, identities, and Paul said, if anyone's going to boast, I could boast in more. Because I have all these things, nothing is compared. He says, but all that stuff, all that I have is nothing compared to knowing Jesus, knowing Messiah, and being of Him. You see, those things are medals. If I get too wrapped up in them, they're going to weigh me down. They're going to weigh me down if I'm too much into that. I'm going to be caring about this and this and this and what people do and say, but I'm supposed to be free of that. That can be there and it can be good things too, but I'm not to be wrapped up that is all I am. It is not. I'm wearing those things. Those things are what I wear. This vessel is what I wear. That vessel you have is what you wear. Some of you want new vessels. You'll get it. But now the key thing is what's inside. And what's inside is I am of Messiah. That's what I am. Whatever else we do, are you this, are you a minister, all those things we may be, or you're on all that stuff, and it doesn't matter what happens. Someone says, oh, you're on television, it means nothing. I am saved by His grace. By His grace, I can bear His name. So with you. That's all that matters. Who are you? I am a Messiah person. I'm here to glorify Him. Whatever I do, whether I do it through one thing or another thing. So there's nothing else. If you have something or you don't have something. Paul says, I'm content with everything. Even if this gets taken away, that doesn't change who I am. I am of Messiah. Whether you lock me up in a prison, I am still of Messiah. Whether I am on a pedestal or in a dungeon, it doesn't matter. I am of Messiah. That's who I am. I don't lose. There are churches that are more into their denominational status than the Lord. And they're more into being a church than being a Lord. That's like a bride who's into being a bride, but not into her husband. We're to be into our husband, then we'll be a bride. Their church is more into their ethnic identity than the Lord. The Jewishness of Beth Israel is not an ethnic thing at all. I'll explain that in a second. Some Messianic congregations, their identity is Jewish. How kind of ethnically Jewish can we be? And and if you're not really Jewish by birth, well, all that stuff means nothing to me. I had that in the synagogue. I didn't have Messiah. It didn't mean a thing. The Jewishness of this gathering is not an ethnic thing. It's a spiritual thing. It's a Jesus thing. It has to do because of who He is, not who we are. It's because Jesus is the Messiah and we love Messiah. We rejoice in all that is Him. We are of Messiah. He is in us. Therefore, we are what He is. We are citizens of Israel by the Spirit. Some have the flesh and blood. Some have other flesh and blood. It is equally a miracle to be together in Messiah. It is Messiah who is everything. The flesh profits nothing. It is Messiah who is everything. Our prime identity overall is to bear His name. Above everything, over every other, to exalt it over every other thing we are. I am first a Messiah person. Therefore, I must surrender the other things to that. I'm a man, but I'm first. You men here, you are men, but you are first a Messiah person. Therefore, you must restrain those things of being a man, that you cannot do everything you want to do because you are first someone here to glorify Messiah. Therefore, you put your passions to the cross. You might be a business person. And that's warring against your, now it doesn't have to, but it's warring against you're getting wrapped up in your business and wrapped up in money and wrapped up in all the concerns. That is second. You are a Messiah person first. You just happen to be a business person. That can come and go. All things of your business must serve the Lord, must glorify the Lord. If something doesn't glorify the Lord, you got to get rid of it. Before even being a husband and wife, and that's godly, you are first the Messiah person. Therefore, your marriage must glorify God. Therefore, you can be a servant to your wife and a servant to your husband because you're here to glorify God, not to get out of that marriage. You're a home. Before you're even a mother or father, you are first Messiah's person. Therefore, you can be a true godly mother and a true godly father, a true loving one. Otherwise, it becomes an idolatry. That can become an idolatry in itself. And things can be put ahead, being, good things from God. The enemy can use it to make it an idol ahead of God's will. As a mother or father or as a son or whatever it is. Love God first. First God, then you'll do it. Paul was all these things, but he said all these things. What did he do? He used them for God's glory. I'm a Roman citizen, not because he was that, but he'll use it. Before all things, I am to him and of him and from him. I must put that above all things and sacrifice all things if I have to for that. We have the high honor of bearing. We also have a high responsibility. With that name, the cost and a high honor. What does it also mean? All the bad that you are